What's up YouTube, it's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I'm back with another video. Now, with the NBA season right around the corner and the level of parity being the highest it has been in over a decade, the NBA community at large is a bit more optimistic than normal. And with that level of optimism, there has been a lot more coverage of other teams outside of the ones who are at the top of the conference, which is a great thing. However, for whatever reason, there is one team that I still feels like does not get the proper coverage, despite them having a really quality roster in the Eastern Conference where it is relatively weaker than the West, and has an opportunity to have a great turnaround story thanks to the underwhelming season in the previous year, and that team is the Miami Heat. For the past couple years, Miami has been one of those teams who have been too talented to tank, but not good enough to consistently compete even in the Eastern Conference. And last year it felt like this team hit rock bottom thanks to a 39-win regular season, which is the second worst record that this team has had in the past decade, and the third worst record that this team has had since D Wade has been drafted to the league. A lot of the problems and concerns from last year were addressed this offseason, and with some of the acquisitions as well as some of the players being healthy, we should see a winning season from this organization. And I think that is the expectations that a lot of people have for this team. However, I'm here to tell you, I'm so optimistic and high on the Miami Heat in this upcoming year that I'm going to make a very legitimate argument that they will more than likely be one of the top seeds in the East, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they compete in the Eastern Conference Finals. But before I go into my arguments and my reasoning, let me give a huge shout out to today's sponsors, and they are SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a platform that allows its users to buy and sell tickets at very reasonable prices. Pretty sure you all are aware of them by now, so there's no real need for me to go into any detail about SeatGeek and how they find you great seats. However, there is this new feature that SeatGeek offers called the Daily Tap. It's a new feature that SeatGeek has launched that will give away thousands of dollars in tickets and discounts on a week-to-week basis to all of your favorite events, such as concerts to Post Malone, Travis Scott, etc., etc. Now, normally when I hear giveaway, that more likely means I have to spend some type of money to actually enter the event to potentially win the prize. However, with SeatGeek and the Daily Tap, you don't have to spend any money at all. All you have to do is go download the app, which I'm pretty sure many of you all have already done. Open up the app, click the tab that says Daily Tap, and then from there you just literally tap on the button that says tap, and there you go. You have now entered into the giveaway for free. And you can do this on a day-to-day basis, which is why it's called the Daily Tap. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, what if I don't want tickets to a Jonas Brothers or Post Malone concert? It still doesn't matter, because even to some of the runner-ups, you still have the opportunity to win a discount ranging from $10 all the way to $100. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, as always, I made the process even easier for everyone out there. All you have to do is click the link in the description. And again, shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring the video. Go download the app, use my promo code LOW for $20 off on your first purchase, and don't forget to enter the Daily Tap. Now, with that out of the way, back to the Miami Heat and why exactly I believe that they will be a massive surprise in this upcoming season. See, last year, even though this team was relatively underwhelming, the record and how well they perform, especially on the offensive end, isn't the greatest representation, because to the credit of the Miami Heat, they did have some injuries to some very key players throughout the entire season. Players such as Goran Dragic, Dion Waiters, and James Johnson missed huge portions of the regular season, and even Justice Winslow was in and out of the lineup. Even with that being said, a huge reason why the Miami Heat struggled so significantly last year offensively has a lot to do with the lack of development from a lot of the younger players on this roster. Tyler Johnson all around just regressed as an individual. Jay Rich saw some increase in his scoring output, however his efficiency numbers weren't that impressive at all, and outside of his scoring output there really wasn't that much improvement in this game either. And then when it comes to Justice Winslow, even though his productivity did increase and he did have some fairly impressive stretches throughout the year where he was taking on the role of being the primary ball handler and facilitator, it's really hard to gauge what type of player Justice Winslow is now in contrast to who he was 2 years ago, thanks to injuries and him consistently being in and out of the lineup. But overall, his impact, as well as Jay Rich and Tyler Johnson's impact as young players, just wasn't great enough, and it wasn't really cutting it for this team offensively, which is why this team has struggled and why this team for the better part of the last 2 to 3 years has been relatively mediocre. And being a mediocre team in the Eastern Conference is arguably the worst situation to be in throughout the entire NBA, so there's definitely some concerns that they had to address. The first one being getting a star player, and Jimmy Butler is obviously going to fill in that role. As we all know, Jimmy Butler is an elite two-way player, and even though last year he did have the lowest scoring output that he's had in several years now, you can't contribute that to the type of role that he had in Philly, as throughout most of the season he was at best the third scoring option, some nights fourth, as he averaged the same amount of shot attempts as JJ Redick. However, that will obviously change now in Miami, as he is undeniably the best scoring option for this team, and his scoring output should go back up to around 23 to potentially even 25, depending on the type of pace that we should see from the Miami Heat this upcoming season. With that level of scoring productivity, that should relieve a lot of players on his team, especially Goran Dragic and Justice Winslow. When it comes to Dragic, last year he did miss a huge portion of the regular season thanks to a knee injury and a surgery that he had to undergo, but as he ages, it's only more obvious that he's going to need a little bit more help carrying the load offensively. And even at his peak, Dragic wasn't some elite level offensive player. He was always a great complementary piece to another scoring partner on the team, and that player obviously would be Jimmy Butler. That should give Goran Dragic the ability to be more of an off-ball threat, and in my opinion, Dragic's abilities have been best utilized with him being more of a combo guard player more so than an on-ball threat. So utilizing Dragic in more various ways than we've seen in previous years since he's been in Miami should be able to get the best out of an aging guard who is going to be 33 before the end of the season. Now, with having two scoring options on his team, everyone else's job offensively should be significantly easier, and the rest of the roster offensively should be able to hold their own as individuals anyway. Justice Winslow last year had a career high in scoring, and he should be able to keep up that scoring output with, again, both Butler and Dragic relieving him of their responsibilities, and his efficiency numbers should go up. Kelly Olynyk is also a really good floor spacer at the 4, and Bam Adebayo, who I'll talk about later on in this video, should be a solid rim running option for this team in pick and rolls. And then coming off the bench, you do have Dion Waiters, and depending on who you are, your level of optimism will vary, but at least I think we can all agree that Dion Waiters should be able to give you somewhere around 12 to 15 points. The level of efficiency is very spotty, but playing alongside Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, and even the rookie and Tyler Hero should be able to up the efficiency numbers for a player who has struggled with that aspect throughout his entire career with Waiters. And then speaking of Tyler Hero, I am impressed, as well as many others, in how impactful he has been so far throughout this offseason. Then for the rest of the bench, we have Jones Jr., Johnson, and the legend himself, Miles Leonard. And in my opinion, I'm also pretty high on the other rookie that the Miami Heat drafted, in KZ Okpala. So offensively, this Miami Heat team now has direction with a consistent 20-point scorer in Jimmy Butler, who could potentially have a career high in the scoring output, which is something that I would expect from him in this upcoming season. Pair that with a reliable second option in Goran Dragic, and everything else should really fall in line. Now, am I saying that Miami will be one of the top 10 offensive teams in this upcoming season? No. But last year, Miami was ranked 26 in offensive rating, and I highly doubt they'll be that bad this year. Which thus brings us to the defensive end of the floor, and quite frankly, I don't really think I have to do that much convincing, because defensively last year, even with the roster being compromised due to injuries, Miami still finished with one of the top 6 defenses in the league. Adding Jimmy Butler to this team should definitely help them on that side of the floor. Justice Winslow as an individual should continue to develop on that side of the floor, especially now having someone such as Butler to mentor him on how to properly defend opposing teams. And if Johnson can ever get into Miami Heat shape, then you'll have 3 very switchable players that will make it significantly easier to hide players such as Goran Dragic, Kelly Olynyk, and potentially even Tyler Hero on the defensive end. But in my opinion, the biggest star for the Miami Heat defensively could be, and should more or less be, Bam Adebayo. Adebayo is a 6'10" big for the Miami Heat who has shown a lot of promise despite only playing 2 short years in this league. In many ways, he is your stereotypical hyper-athletic big man who offensively is inept. Offensively, he's more or less just going to set screens, roll to the basket, you dump it off to him, he's going to dunk the ball. And then defensively, he is a really good rim protector with his help defense, very similar to players such as Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan. But the one thing that separates Adebayo from a lot of other bigs in this league is his ability to be versatile and switchable in pick and roll situations thanks to his lateral quickness. Now, I'm not saying that Adebayo in his first year as a full-time starter will play at an elite level defensively. However, I do believe his impact will be felt so much so that he should be in the running to win Most Improved Player of the Year this upcoming season. And if Bam is able to accept those responsibilities, rise to the occasion, as well as having great defenders surrounding him on the perimeter, again, I don't really think there's going to be that many questions about how well this team can be defensively this upcoming year. All in all, I really like this team, and I'm pretty surprised how no one is really discussing the potential that this unit has in this upcoming season. They have a really good bench. I like their depth. They have a really good coach on the sideline in Eric Spoelstra, and now they have a legitimate star in Jimmy Butler, who was also a closer. And last year, Butler's fourth quarter numbers were ridiculous, literally ridiculous. So again, I'm completely surprised to why no one is discussing this team in any conversation to be a massive surprise in this upcoming season. And this doesn't take into consideration any trades that could happen during the middle of the season, because it wouldn't surprise me at all if Chris Paul or Drew Holiday found themselves playing in South Beach before the end of the year. And also, quite frankly, outside of the Bucks and the Sixers, I'm not too confident about anyone else in the Eastern Conference. But hey, maybe I'm being a bit too biased towards this team. Let me know in the comment section below where you think the Miami Heat will finish this upcoming season. And also, let me know of other teams that you think will be massive surprises in this upcoming year as well. And please don't forget, before you go, make sure you click the link in the description, download the SeatGeek app, try out the Daily Tap, and use my promo code LOW on $20 off on your first purchase. But until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.